amazing.
When you learn what? What is up, guys? NYC Anime Nerd joined with Nerd Taku and the Broker. Big chapter this week, guys. Big chapter. If you didn't get spoiled with something, you did a very, very
Yeah, no,
good job.
I didn't get any spoilers. I was very fortunate.
Broker, I'm talking about the population.
Oh,
the
I see.
majority,
I thought you meant us.
people that actually use the internet.
Uh,
Broker doesn't want us to see us because it's hooked up to like a blender and a typewriter, and it's just like making electricity somehow.
no, my house is basically a steampunk factory at this point.
Exactly. What were you gonna say, Taku?
I was gonna say the only spoiler I got was like Shanks is in this chapter. I was like, okay. I'm like, please tell me he didn't roll up, and luckily he did not.
Yeah. So as I was talking to you guys, we're gonna jump right in, but it is break week next week, so I'm sure we have so much to talk about. I'm sure we'll talk about this chapter again.
It's the week after next.
Oh yeah, the week after next is break week. Excuse me.
Yeah. We're getting 11:53 before we go on break.
Yep. So yeah, crazy chapter. But as I was saying to you guys, the more I read it, the more I'm feeling uneasy about it, because now we have to play by these rules. There's no more, like it. To me, it would have been better left open. Like.
Do you mean the fight between, like, how to damage a celestial dragon, that sort of thing?
I mean, all of it. I mean, yes, we needed answers, but this was such a defining thing in the story, right? Shank's arm getting bit off.
Yes.
And to me, what does the Lord of the Coast have Conqueror's hockey? Because if how else did his arm not grow back? And if Shanks wanted to get rid of it, why didn't he just cut off his own arm? Like, so there's all these things now that you have to play rules by. Like, you have to include the Bismarck in any lore that comes up with like this. So it's not that I don't like it, I just feel uneasy about it. I think that's the best word to describe it.
Can I would
Please.
like to interject.
Please.
Okay, so I don't think what Shanks has on his arm is an abyss mark. So my reasoning behind this is, if you look at Sommers is like the first person that we actually get a good look of what an abyss mark looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And his abyss mark is bananas. It's like, it starts like all the way up here and goes all the way down to his elbow. Like, it's pretty vast, but the mark that they bear as holy knights is on Saint Killingham's armband, like, and it's the same mark that Shanks has on his arm. To me, it seems as though those are two different things. I think that this is confirmation that Shanks was a holy knight, but I don't think that he had the abyss mark yet.
Oh, I've gone in a different direction with it. I think that flashback, I don't think that's actually Shanks. I think it's
Shammy.
Yeah, I think it's Shamrock pretending to be Shanks, and the whole thing of, like, giving the idea of the date of how many years it's been and stuff like that. I think that was what's his name, the guy with Scopper gone. I think that's Scopper, like, testing him, like, what do you mean it's been that many years? Like, he said the wrong date on purpose, just like to try and gauge who he was talking to.
You think so?
I would really. I don't know if I believe it to be true, but I would like it if it were, because why? So, like, why else giving Shanks a brother? Fine, but why else give him an identical twin if there's not going to be a case of mistaken identity at least once?
I mean, we already had that though when he went to Marijois.
No, no, no.
That
I,
was
I mean
our
for allies. I don't mean for us, the reader. I mean for
oh.
allies, for actual other people, because they could have just made that look like somebody with a hood up, like using Shanks's voice. They didn't have to show us physically Shanks when it came to the Murray Joie thing.
Here's my pushback to that. One, he's got the scar. Two, I think that the whole talk about like the different timing is to signify that time moves differently in Elbaf. And I think that the fact that he was like one like talking to him about being in Marie Joie, he was also telling stories about how Gabon had a different chick in every port. Like I think that it speaks too much to Shanks being Shanks in this. But I don't think that a Bismarck is what we think it is because it looks awfully small. And again, it matches perfectly the armband that both Sommers and Killingham have
Yes.
when they get fully dressed.
Well, you're saying that you're saying that you think Shanks was a God's knight, yeah? You still think he was one of the holy knights, yeah? Wouldn't
Yes,
wouldn't that mean he has an Bismarck anyway? Because the holy knights have Bismarcks.
it's possible that he was like a Holy Knight apprentice for Garling, but
Oh, okay,
hasn't made the deal yet. You know, like
okay,
because and it would make sense, right? Because he would have been in this flashback. This happened what 10 or they said 14 years
14 years
14
ago. Yeah,
years ago.
14 years ago.
So Shanks wouldn't have like ventured out too much. And if we think that maybe right after like Roger's execution and stuff like that, he made his way to Marijois because he said he wanted to go and sail with Buggy, but like he never really like did that, obviously. So if anything, what he learned from Roger when he was crying at the end was like, hey, you have like parents in Marie Joie. Like you should go back to Marie Joie or something. Like you're a
Oh, I
celestial
was gonna say, I,
dragon,
I was gonna say,
all
see,
this other stuff.
that's the idea that I don't like. I would hate the idea for Roger to tell someone he cared about to go and like live as a a celestial dragon. That's why it's like
Well,
when Shanks said he was there, I was like, but why were you there? It's like it's Shanks was Ray. If Shanks was just like a random person from some random blue somewhere, fine. But he was on the Pirate King's ship. He knows how bad the Celestial Dragons are. There's no. It's not for him to decide. He knows they are pure evil. So why did he stay there for? Even if he only stayed for a little while, why did he go at all?
And
there's
what
some interesting thoughts there, but go ahead.
my thing is though, I like what yeah, why is like you left that and joined that's a lot. And then
Yeah.
why did you wait so long after being a pirate to like use that opportunity to like get your arm bitten off? Like if you wanted it removed, there's ways to do. Obviously, there's no tattoo removal in One Piece, Bink's tattoo removal shop, but like you could have branded over it, like
Like Nami did.
exactly. There's things that you could do. Why
Or like
keep
Fish or Tiger.
Yeah,
Yeah,
literally, or
exactly.
just take a cheese grater to it if you really need to. Do you know what I mean? Like the
E-
mob style.
Exactly. And so that's why I, you know, feeling uneasy about it
As
because
am I.
it
As am I. I know
it
exactly where you're coming from.
it just like to me, if it's not an abyss mark, if it's just a mark, like let's say it's, and I don't think that, I have some own pushback on my theory. I don't think every abyss mark means regeneration and blah blah. I think they can have different powers, but what I think that they all have in common is Emu can, look through them, use them, spy through them and stuff. And so uh it's just like, maybe he's like unable to like cut his own arm off. Maybe he's unable to like change, the tattoo, because every time he does, like Emu will, realize and like take control of him. But like that,
Also, I'm just realizing, technically, again, if you have the Abyss Mark and it gives you the regeneration power, yeah, you actually wouldn't be able to damage. You wouldn't be able to go over the tattoo yourself because it would just heal, wouldn't it? It would just like if you burn over it, it would just regenerate, and then you were left with the tattoo you had before.
What if it's like a baby Abyss Mark?
Yeah,
Like like the apprentices get like the start of it, and that's just like Emu watching over them type thing. And then once they fully become God's Knights, then the I don't know, the rules change, if you will. And maybe the Abyss Mark turns into something more
So,
almost
do you
like
think
a
Sommers
curse
is just an
mark
apprentice
for
then?
Naruto.
Do you think Sommers is still an apprentice then by that metric because he has the same mark?
So Sommers has a full-blown
Oh,
curse
sorry. The
mark.
Killingham means. So
yeah,
Killingham has the same mark. I mean,
So here's the thing: we never see Killingham's arms.
no.
yeah,
I mean, yeah. I mean, he has the same mark on the arm, like on his shoulder pad, whatever you want to call it.
Here's the thing: so like, so does Sommers, because when he actually gets fully clothed, he has the same armband with that
yeah.
same mark.
In that
But
picture,
his
Oh,
that
really? Oh, there you go.
arm, yeah, that arm also is the same arm that has the curse mark.
yeah.
So, or the abyss mark. So maybe that's just the symbol of the Holy Knights, and you get the symbol of the Holy Knights on you by Emu when you're an apprentice to
Well,
be a
it's
Holy Knight.
also like I was saying last week. It's also very similar to the world government, logo.
It is.
And again, it just yeah,
Yeah.
like I
I,
said,
I'm really curious to like how much does like Garp know about this? You know, like
same
the
here.
contracts. Like how much does like Akiji know about this? That's what I've been thinking about so much lately.
Also, something to note um is it seems that everyone who has an abyss mark has the same which I don't really see Gungos, but it seems like they all have the abyss mark probably on their left arm. Sommers has it on his left arm, and Killingham has his band on the left arm. So does Sommers.
Yeah.
So
And when
is this
Gunko goes to summon them, she uses her left arm to summon.
It's another biblical thing with the mark on the left arm.
Yeah,
well
it's also because people who are left-handed are the devil.
Yeah, well, so
yeah,
do you know what the Latin word for left is?
No,
Sinister. That's where we get the term from.
that's actually
interesting.
really
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I don't think that this is like pure like I don't know. Like I get where people are feeling uncomfortable about it, but to me this makes sense. Imagine you find the possible fruit of prophecy, the kid who eats it and the kid you want to bet on. And there's a possibility if this mark is based upon a devil fruit, the only way that they could have taken it off was in the place where devil fruits are weakened. And Shanks could have possibly thought that his arm might grow back. And then it just so happened that because it was submerged in water and taken by a sea king,
uh,
it
yeah,
didn't come back.
that's
I like
true.
this. I like this. The Seeking part of that's interesting because then it actually gives Shirahoshi even more power in the future. If Sea Kings can damage like Holy Knights and stuff, that'd be pretty cool.
It's
It would be
interesting.
like if you put sea prism stone on them and,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like that a lot. I really like that bit.
yeah. It's interesting that you're talking about 'cause so I was thinking that like Shanks had the fruit, right? And like that all happened. Luffy eats it. He gives Luffy the hat. Well, I was thinking, what if there is some hockey embedded in the hat that makes Emu not able to, you know, take over his body, see through him, whatever he can do, right? And so as soon as it got eaten, like he's like, here's the hat, you're gonna need it, like because it had some type of hockey that's going to not let Emu sense, that someone has eaten the Nika fruit. And that's why, like for so long, like I think the rumors were spread that, you know, it was
Like an invisibility cloak, but just for Emu.
Yeah.
sure, but like more so, I think the rumors were made say, you know, say, like they were like, okay, we, you know, like he's got the rubber fruit, you know, it's not the model Nika. To have the government not intervene, you know, to have Emu not go searching for it, you know. So I think it was like this, you know, like this conspiracy, you know, maybe by Shanks, but like, you know, uh, to like start spreading the word that like, you know, like when Luffy started to come up in the world, being like, you know, like a guy made of rubber, because that's what they always say, you know, like he's made of
I
rubber.
mean, it very well could be that. I don't know if I like that.
I
Because
don't know if I like
I
it either. Don't worry. No, no, like I
it
don't know if I like it either, but I just think like that was like his first move after, you know, like getting his arm bitten. He's like, oh shit, like Emu's not gonna be able to stop me, you know, take this hat. Like that was basically his first move after his arm getting eaten.
I I I understand, and I don't get me wrong. I think that that's a very logical conclusion. I feel as though it was, which we didn't get to see per se,
Mm.
um, but it was when Luffy told Shanks his true dream, his second dream, because he tells everyone
Oh
like,
yeah,
"Yeah, I told
yeah,
Shanks the second dream," and he laughed so hard he cried. But or he was laughing, or everyone was laughing because he told Sabo, he told Ace, and he told Shanks, and he was like, Shanks was like kind of crying though. I think that was the moment where he said, "Oh, like my my pirate king had
yeah,
that same dream. This hat belongs to this kid. I'm
yeah,
betting it all on him."
yeah.
Like,
No,
and
definitely. I agree. I agree with that 1,000%. You know.
Same.
yeah. So like, don't get me wrong. There's a level to this that is wildly insane because of the fact that it's like, why would Shanks go to Marie Schwa? Well,
Yeah,
he might have heard something, or he was like, wow, like I can't believe that I was a baby on God Valley and then I was in chest and now I have parents. Like, I feel like in that time he could have been like, I feel like some people do long for that familial connection. And he maybe went to Marie Joie being like, oh, these guys are scumbags, but like, maybe I can meet my parents and see if they're different, or maybe I can change the system from the inside, like Garp. Like there's so many different thoughts that could go into this. Maybe he thinks once I ascend to the top, then I make the rules. He finds out that Emu exists, and there's already a top that's way too insane, and like uh, maybe he backs off it. I don't know, but I'm very interested in why he went there,
yeah.
what his motivation was, and what happened in that time frame. Because Shanks has no scar when Roger dies. Then he becomes a God's Knight somewhere in there, or apprentice or whatever, and then has a scar when he talks to Gabon. So like, did he have a run-in with Blackbeard or even the Whitebeard pirates while he was a God's Knight? And was that when Garling scarred Whitebeard?
What
And
couldn't it have been Shamrock? Because how many marks is it? Is it three? Because like if it is like the Cerberus, what if the Cerberus cuts 3 times?
I mean, but here's the thing. He said it was Blackbeard that gave it to him.
Yeah,
He straight up was like, yo, like I was on my guard, and that fucking guy who left your crew gave me this. Like, so I 100%. And Blackbeard used to use claws. Like,
yeah,
so that there's no, I really don't think that Shamrock was the one to scar him. Otherwise, I feel like Shanks wouldn't have gone to the lengths to tell him that. But that makes me think that at some point the Holy Knights had a run in with
with
Whitebeard, and that's where Shanks probably got scarred, and then that's also possibly where Whitebeard got scarred by
Yeah,
Garling.
I can
makes
believe that.
sense. Yeah, that's very valid. I think that's very valid.
Because I think that we were all trying to search, like, why would he say, like, hey, whenever I see your face,
Yeah,
this
facts.
this very serious scar is the one that aches. Like, it makes sense, and it would make sense that he would tie, Garling and Shanks, because they were maybe master and apprentice at that time,
Yeah,
you know. So I don't know. And having Blackbeard on his crew, that could be because at that time, that's when Blackbeard hadn't made his move yet. So
yeah.
that's where he could have scarred him. It, I mean, who knows? That could have been the point where Garling was like, yo, you got scarred up like that. Trash. You're not
Yeah,
my kid.
you're not like,
You're not an
uh,
aura farmer
Oh,
like me. What are
I've
you
just wait a
doing?
minute. I've just
you're
thought of
not a
something else as
Garland.
well. I've just thought of something else. If by that time he was a God's Knight and he did have the regen, that means that Blackbeard would be confirmed a conqueror because he didn't
Conqueror.
regenerate.
Oh, that's very true.
And also
That'd
it
be
means
tough.
that
That'd be
also
super dope if that's how we find out
well,
that he's gonna come.
it even adds to that because what's his name? Scopper attacked Killingham, yeah, with conquerors, but he still it took longer, but he did still regenerate, right? So it took
Oh,
time.
you mean Sommers?
Sorry,
So,
Sommers, yeah, he attacked him and he still regenerated. Yeah, it took longer than normal, but he was still able to regenerate. This would mean that Shanks would so
wait, did we
far.
see him regen?
Yeah, he puts himself
Yeah.
back together again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So since we're talking about Conqueror's Hockey, so I read the original, like they're like the fan translation. Then I went and read
Me
read
too.
the
The Sanji
Vis.
thing.
Were they different?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And now it makes me think Sanji has hockey. Is this or Conquerors? Excuse me, or could have it.
Yeah, there with the point where one Zoro being dumb and not knowing he has Conqueror's Hockey. And I like the way it's said in the fan translation a little bit better, where Luffy says, like, you didn't know it's been oozing off of you. I think that that's a really good verbiage for the fact that he's just kind of leaking it all over the place,
Yeah.
Um, but the moment where Sanji goes like, "Hey, old man, what about me?" And then all of a sudden Loki has this huge outburst, and
Mhm.
normally I would be like, "Okay, whatever, maybe that's just him being like, oh, like a pick me." But then what's weird is after we get that panel of Loki yelling, we get a panel of Sanji with his mouth open like he's shocked about something
Yeah. And
and
Gabon.
no words. So it's almost like Gabon said something just specifically to him while this huge loud interaction is happening. And to me, I think that this is confirmation that Sanji either has it in him or Gabon told him, like, anyone can have it. You just have to unlock it. And that could have been a shocking revelation to him because from what we've kind of seen, most people are just like, oh, you have it, like
Yeah.
you either have it or you don't.
See, I looked at it in a different way. I thought of it that we are going to find out that someone else has it as well, but it still isn't Sanji. That would make me laugh. It's
be like, yo, it's
Yeah.
Jinbei.
yeah,
So
go on.
I was I was thinking about that, and I remember a few weeks ago when I was talking about like Sanji maybe gets it through like how they're gonna like through maybe a genetically modified. He was trying to like build it into Sanji.
Yeah.
Uh, so I was thinking about that, and recently the other day, and I was wondering like, what if Zeus can hurt the God's Knights because it was made from the soul of a conqueror. So that's how Nami's going to be able to fight them through Zeus because it was made from the
Oh
soul
no! Oh
of a
no!
conqueror.
I just thought. Oh, you've given me is even better now. So that's the way it will be. So it's like both yours and mine. So we'll find out there is another conqueror. Only what Scopper is sensing is actually just Zeus. it's like, oh, hang on, there's another one. It's not just you two, and it's, oh no, hang on, it's the cloud. It's like, what do you mean
Well,
it's the cloud?
well, I think it could be Sanji and this because I think that they're gonna have to need if the gods' knights are like that, we have to assume that like most of the
Emu and the
enemies
Gurisei.
towards the end game, you're gonna have to have
Yeah,
conquerors to be on even
agreed.
playing field. So we got to at least say what maybe 75%, 80% of the Straw Hats are gonna need conquerors.
I would be absolutely fine if by the end of the story they were a crew that was all conquerors. I'd be okay with that. I really would.
I would too.
Yeah, that wouldn't bother
I
me the way
know
it bothers some people.
here's the thing. People get so wrapped up in this,
Yep.
like, well, there can't be that many conquerors. And I'm like, we're in the strongest sea.
Yeah, and it's
If
not
you
just
take
look at rocks. Look at the rocks pirates. They were all
Oh,
conquerors as far as we're aware.
finish what you're gonna say, but I want to say something about rocks that I know I was
but
talking to y'all.
it's like, well, again, like we talked about this, and I am in whole like hearted belief that the Rocks pirates are a better reflection of Luffy's crew than Rogers.
Facts. I
Same.
And
agree with
and the fact that you had Whitebeard, Kaido, Big Mom, and then you arguably had the possibility of Shiki, Wang Ji, Silver's Axe, Captain John,
you. Yeah.
and Gloriosa, who's a Amazon uh, Princess of Amazon, like, or the Queen of Amazon, Lily, which is also like Boa has it. Like, why wouldn't Gloriosa? And then you have Stussy, who arguably may not have it because she's kind of a simp, it
Oh,
seems,
see,
for
see, no,
Whitebeard.
see,
But
actually, I think what we'll find out is
even
that
still,
original Stussy had it, but Clone One doesn't. That
mm,
we'll find out that the one thing that does not pass on to a clone is conquerors. You can pass on anything else you like, but conquerors, almost like the Force from Star Wars, right? Where you can clone people, but you can't clone them to have the Force.
does that mean that none of the Seraphim have it?
Yeah, I would really hope so. Yeah, I don't want any of the Seraphim to be conquerors. None
They're
of them.
already
I
so
want,
they're already so strong though.
Yeah.
So
I
like
know. I want only Seraphim Dofi to have it, just because he
oh
looks like a menace to
dude,
society.
he looks like a total menace for sure. But
Yeah.
speaking of rocks, I said to y'all, and I'm curious what you guys think about it. Could he have got Dami Reversi and like
Ooh.
looking at his like wanted poster, it looks devilish, like his hair is crazy. Why couldn't two of those been like horns? And that's why Garp and Roger teamed up against him, so like
So I have a crazier idea. So this is
it's
where I went
crazier
with it.
than
Yes, Rocks was when everything happened. Rocks was the one who stayed normal, but Roger and Garp got Dami reversed, and
oh
that's
fuck
why.
me.
it, so I had that similar theory of the command of all things, and Roger and Garp were the ones who were influenced by Emu and controlled by him to kill Rocks because Rocks couldn't be controlled. And so I think that it would be even better
Yeah.
if Garp and Roger were the ones that were controlled in that sense to kill
That
Rocks.
would
That
mean then that eventually it does wear off, that it's not permanent,
well
Yes.
and that
also that could point to why Garp didn't leave the Marines. Maybe he's scared that he's going to hurt someone, like, or that Emu can now use that power on him anytime. Like, he can, Dami Reversi him anytime.
oh,
So,
it's even better than that. That's also why Roger let himself die, because at
yeah,
least then he's not a threat.
exactly. Exactly.
It's possible.
But
I mean, it
the only thing
could.
I would say that would slightly be against that is if Emu knew that he could possess Garp, sorry, not Garp, Roger, then he would just say no to executing him. Why would you take a powerful piece like that off the board if you can control it? Just as like he's going to be executed. If Emu said no, then he doesn't get executed. It doesn't go to
Because
popular vote.
because he was sick anyways. Like
Oh
he
yeah,
was gonna
yeah,
die.
yeah, but you would use that until its last drop. It's like if you had control over Superman. Yeah, even if he's dying of like kryptonite poisoning, you are going to use every bit of his strength until he collapses dead on the floor.
It also makes you wonder is if you were able to give him an abyss mark, would that have healed his like
Sickness,
cancer?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but there's also a possibility that in the God Valley incident is where he got sick. It's possible that the clashing of their hockeys, because Roger was trying to get out of it, caused him to have an illness, almost like a poison of hockey.
Or what if it was a poison from the ancient weapon? Like, like nukes use radiation. Like, what if it was something like that? Like,
I would think that the only difference would be that Garp should have it too, but he doesn't. He's still very much alive. Like, and so that's why I think that Roger would war harder against Emu than Garp would.
See,
but
Because
my thinking
what?
on that was that maybe he again some attack was happening from rocks, and that Roger took the attack, and that's what gave him the illness.
imagine Rocks had Magellan's fruit.
Or yeah, or something. Yeah, or so, again, or an upgraded version.
So it's
Possibly.
funny that you're talking about that because so I was thinking about, and it has to do with this chapter, the white and black scarfs, and what if, what if, uh, they're like real devil fruits, and like Emu made fruits, and like we're gonna see Loki's power be like Nika's, but he's gonna have a black scarf, and Emu like had put it in there and told them to protect it because they lost the fruit. The fruit was lost, and um they uh and so he told them to protect it so nobody would think that like, oh, somebody's got this, Joy Boy's, the Nika fruit, nobody's got the sun god's fruit.
Mhm.
I'd be fine with that. The thing I've never understood is that if they know Loki has this fruit, why don't they just kill Loki and have the fruit reincarnate somewhere? Like, of anyone you wouldn't want to have a really powerful busted fruit, it's someone like Loki, who is clearly a conqueror, clearly physically powerful, and to the point where they are able to do like massive attacks whilst still affected by sea prism stone.
Well, we also, the reason I was saying that, like, we heard of like Black Nika, right? Like they talked about, like when the dreams were happening, right? Didn't they see like a Black Nika?
Yeah, Gunko
Yeah,
sphere.
it
Yeah.
was yeah, it was yeah, it was one of the kids was like
Exactly.
because there's like 3 iterations that they
Oh
talk
yes,
about
that's it.
Nika, and there's the laughing Nika,
Yeah.
there's
The
the
destruction.
destruction,
And the
and
warrior.
then there's the warrior.
Yeah.
So I think that they were paying attention more to the destruction version of Nika, and that's why they were like, "Oh, I'm scared of them." The thing is with the Hagoromo scarf, and this is something that I had thought about was imagine if like the devil fruits came into existence through like 2 different means. Like a lot of the devil fruits that we might see with the white scarf maybe came from the original, maybe like Adam tree that sprouted devil fruits.
Yeah.
And then the ones with the black scarf may have came from a different tree, maybe the Eve tree or something like that. Or, like it could just be like the ones that have the black scarf are ones that have been uh basically tainted by Emu, and then there are the ones that have remained pure. That's why like pure in the sense that they haven't been tainted by demons. That's why Kaku and Lucci, being
Look,
part of CP9, they were tainted by the demons. The only one that it doesn't make sense
Killingham.
is for Killingham.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
And the the thing is it's possible that he had his fruit and awakened it before becoming a holy knight.
Fair enough. I
And
still
so
think...
it
Oh, sorry,
didn't
go on.
Yes.
it didn't do that, especially like Enel and like Yamato, like they both have it and theirs is white. So I mean, who knows? There's a lot
Remember,
to unpack.
Anel's one is only there in the when he makes like a giant god version of himself. Because what I was
Yeah.
thinking was, you know, he has those metal things in his back. I thought
Yeah.
that may have been his way of like giving himself one artificially. Like that he had this idea of what this god looked like from his own research, and it's like, well, I don't have one of those. I'll give myself one so that other people think that's me.
Yeah.
Interesting. Did you guys notice on the 1150 cover story that Udi and Page One are wearing the symbol of the sun god on their cloaks?
Really?
Hold
Yeah.
on.
As I say,
Let me lock
Here,
in.
yeah.
I'll send. Do you want me to send it to you guys?
Yeah, please.
Oh yeah, on the shoulders.
Isn't that weird?
I mean, kind of makes sense.
No, I mean it super makes sense, but
I do
sorry.
like it. They're super dripped out.
Yeah,
Listen, I've
it's
always
in the
been a fan
Discord. Sorry.
of Alti.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Yes, I see.
Yeah.
Wasn't that
So
already one of? Wasn't that already one of the Wano symbols?
so I don't think so because the Kozuki one is similar, but it has like the bird.
Oh yes,
Uh,
that's it.
and but it is similar, but I think that's also just because they're influenced by
Yeah.
Nika's,
Well, it's the same with the one for Boa's crew as well. Hers is very similar.
Yeah, with and then
Yeah.
it's also similar for
Yeah.
Alabasta as well.
There are common themes.
Yes. So I have a question. Since we got this panel here, do you think Loki's joining the crew?
I really hope not.
I don't like. I do think Loki's joining the crew. I do. I don't know how I feel about it, but I think like the only thing that I hear people saying is like how he's gonna fit. Like I don't think that's like a valid reasoning enough for me to like not look past it. But we also got to think back: how many people has Luffy invited to join the crew that
Oh,
hasn't?
several. Yeah.
We'd have like so many people on the ship right now, and all this does is that gives us it gives room for Frankie to build a new ship. There's a whole bunch of wood that he needs, like why, there's things that make sense that could make it happen.
See, the only reason I don't wait, it's not necessarily even just for the ship being inconvenient and stuff, because exactly like you said, there's plenty of Adam wood. My thing is the fact that, especially if we're getting to things now where, like you're saying, we need we already need the characters we've got. We need them to have growth. We don't need stronger people just added willy nilly. That's why I was okay if Yamato would have joined, because as strong as Yamato was, I would still have put Zoro and Sanji above Yamato 1v1. Whereas if you're going to put again, we still need so much growth from the rest of the Straw Hats that I would like to see them grow before we just see extra strength additions this late in the game.
And I agree with that full-heartedly because I was thinking about it, and I feel like the last time, other than Luffy and Sanji and Zoro, that like everybody pulled their weight was like when they were fighting like Mr. 1, 2, 3,
Oh, and
like
I was going to say Ennie's lobby at least, but I know what you mean, Alabasta and stuff. But at least Ennie's lobby, they all got some major growth. Everyone got a power up, whether it was amazing or whether it was just adequate, but they all got a power up. Whereas we've not had that same thing, I would say, since Ennie's lobby, really.
yeah, it they feel more like background characters.
Yes,
now
yes, that's a
for
perfect
three.
way of putting it. Yeah,
But
exactly.
and that's partially why I wouldn't like it. But maybe bringing in a new character to the crew would be a way to invigorate the rest of the crew getting, some love.
See, this is why I still really hope that Harudajin is going to be a villain of Elbath, so that then Loki can take over as the captain, like as part of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. I would quite like, especially he's the captain of the Elbath giant pirates. That so that now Luffy actually is a big player on the seas because he has all of the giants of Elbath fighting for him.
Well, yeah, he's definitely, if he doesn't join, he's definitely going to be part of the Grand Fleet. Like, I don't think that's,
No, I mean physically leading it. I mean him on it, like he's the leader.
What do you think, Taku?
So here's my thing. I need Loki to join. Um, I do.
Contrary.
I need a tank.
No. Well, not just that is one, he's in the mural, obviously, right? So like he has to be there in some capacity. But I also think that he's necessary for how I foresee the Blackbeard pirates versus the Straw Hat pirates.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
So like right now we have 10 Titanic captains, right?
Mhm.
And so and then Blackbeard. So that's 11 people. Right now we're only at 10 total with Luffy Straw Hats, correct? I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
Yep.
So one, we definitely need at least one more member. I think more members because I think that Blackbeard is getting more people on his side.
Especially with the time
so-
being different that you guys didn't
well,
want. But go on.
Well, here's the thing. I think that Loki is the one who's going to beat San Juan Wolf. And I think that that would be great. I originally thought that San Juan Wolf was going to be a Frankie opponent.
Oh, I think Jinbei.
I thought Jinbei at one point, but then I thought Frankie, because I think that Frankie will eventually make the Sunny and potentially whatever bigger ship that he makes into like a Megazord.
Yeah,
and that would be how he taught.
I sent you pictures of this before. I agree, but I think that it's going to be done via York. So I think that that spot you're thinking of will be filled by York, and I think York ends up replacing Aokiji.
But I think that is now going to be a Frankie versus Avalo Pizarro. And so I think that Loki would be a really great addition to the crew. I think he has a tragic backstory. I think that he fits the mold. And I think that there's a way that we can make the size work. Like,
I agree. I don't.
Who doesn't have a sad backstory these days?
Kaido
has plenty of a bad side. He was experimented on as a child and tortured.
Who doesn't experiment as a child? We all got broker. I know you've got a weird uncle.
Yeah, bro. I felt more for Senor Pink than I felt for Kaido's backstory. I'm like, this guy's been through war. How tough, like. This is like run of the mill stuff. I felt the same thing when I saw Jiren's backstory in Dragon Ball Super. I'm like, oh man, how tough.
Yeah.
But like, I truly, I believe that we are getting more captains for Blackbeard. And I think one of them might be Caribou because I think that he's going to prove his worth and become that for him. And then he's going... Yes, but a lot of Blackbeard's crew seems weak, but they have like really, really hacks devil fruits. Well, and so that he fits the mold.
Yeah, but there's so many people out there that can use basic armament now, and as we've seen, basic armament was able to one-shot Caribou. Every single person that has physically managed to hit Caribou has knocked him out in one hit. Every single one.
It-
Even Frankie, technically, by hitting him and locking him in the barrel.
But that's why, like, he's a perfect candidate to fight someone
Oh no, I
who
think
doesn't have hockey and unlocks it during their
yes,
fight.
I
Even
think he's definitely going to
Oh,
be a
interesting.
what do you call it? Like a Blackbeard pirate ally. So again, the 10 Titanic captains have people under them. I think Caribou's definitely going to be one of those, an allied person, like a member of Blackbeard's
I,
Grand Fleet, but not a Titanic captain himself.
I think he'll
I
have
think he's
12
too big of a
Titanic
name
captains.
to not be a captain, to be under someone. Like, he's just like,
Yeah, but the name means nothing if you can't back it up.
no, definitely, I agree with you, but like,
Bro, Blackbeard was nothing but a name for the
yeah,
longest
But
time.
no, wait a minute. Blackbeard already turned down Bonnie because he said Bonnie was too weak. Look how powerful Bonnie is. Bonnie could body shot Caribou with no challenge whatsoever. None. And Blackbeard already said, you're too weak. If he's going to say that to Bonnie, he's definitely going to say it to Caribou.
I mean, think about it though. It was Bonnie with the worst crew ever that was just like made up of family friends.
yeah.
Caribou doesn't have a crew. Caribou has no crew. Hasn't for a lot.
Caribou
Has
does have a
no,
crew.
no. Right, not anymore. Remember, all of Caribou's crew were killed by Momu.
Yeah.
They're all
I
gone.
mean,
There's no one
they're
left.
not dead.
No, but I'm saying that they're certainly not anywhere near as strong as Bonnie's like crew. I would say Bonnie's crew minus Bonnie could still easily defeat Caribou.
I don't know. All I know is if you prove your worth to Blackbeard, he will love you
So
forever.
what I would love, what here's a way that we could both be happy with it. What about what I've said before? Like, I think that Blackbeard is going to use Caribou as like a Trojan horse to attack Murray Joie. Yeah, he's going to go there, be made a king. Go like there's going to be an emergency reverie when they find out that Elbap has gone against the world government. So they'll do that, take over. But then once Blackbeard's done with him, I think Blackbeard's going to kill Caribou and just take his devil fruit and then give it to someone else. Someone strong.
Maybe.
It's very
So
possible.
so yeah. So we're gonna wrap up in 10 minutes. Sorry guys that I started late. I was having some problems. It's so freaking hot here. That my AC actually isn't even working at this point.
Oh,
But
damn.
yeah. So um about Blackbeard and Garp, I was wondering. So we know that time's moving differently now, or we assume so. And I have two things that I'm thinking about. Like, what if they came out of Elbaf and time had passed? Like, how would you guys feel about, like, what if Garp died in that time and like Luffy wasn't there
Oh, I
to
would
do
like.
something?
I know what you mean in terms of like a heartfelt thing to get Luffy back in the game.
Yeah, like
Yeah, I
somebody off.
personally wouldn't like it.
I think someone off screen right now is dying.
Oh, I see. I think that Alabaster's going to be completely destroyed. I think we're going to fight. Like, I
Oh,
think that the Lulicia weapon is going to completely destroy Alabaster, and
that's
obviously, and
actually,
then Luffy will assume that VV must be dead now, and that will then just like that will bring the Straw Hats because remember Luffy has no idea that VV is safe.
yeah,
No idea. And Zoro even says that she'll be safe in Alabaster. So even Zoro thinks she's there. So to
interesting.
have Alabaster completely wiped off the map.
I would personally hate Garp going out like that. That would be to me that would be like super bad writing in the
Yes.
terms of like how much we've sat with a character, how much we expected from a character, how much we got from a character, and then to have him go out like that, like he doesn't even get like a very legendary death.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
that to
it could be
me,
legendary. We don't see it. Like, what if they try and break him out? What if there was a clash between like Sword and Blackbeard pirates?
See,
Like,
I
and that's when uh Kuzan like doesn't know what to do, what
I
decision he has to make.
see. I still think that Kuzan is going to fake Garp's death So I think that, remember when we first saw Aokiji using his ice power to freeze Robin? Yeah, the very first time we met him.
Yeah,
He was
he
gonna,
could
he was
slow
gonna,
down his heart rate.
yeah, he was going to smash her to pieces when he froze her, yeah, so that she was dead. I think that what basically the Blackbeard pirates are going to say to Kuzan, look, you're actually with us, prove it right now, kill Garp. And that Kuzan will then like hesitate, but in the end he'll freeze Garp solid and then shatter him into pieces. We then assume he's dead. The Blackbeard pirates think he's dead, and then hundreds of chapters later we find out that it was planned that Kuzan kept Garp safe and just destroyed a statue made of ice that looked like Garp. So but a story being leaked so that everyone thinks Garp is dead, I can see that.
I
As long
can
as
see
he's not
that.
as long as he's not actually dead, but everyone thinks he's dead, that's
Yeah.
fine.
As long as he pulls up to the
Final
end of the
fight.
war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, Taku?
No, I just have a question. It's very simple, yes or no. I don't need you to elaborate or anything. King Harold, scumbag and continuous scumbag, or scumbag reformed?
Reformed for me. Reformed. But I'm biased because my Harudijan
Not reformed for me, but because of outside extenuating circumstances. So there's things that most people would be like, "Oh, that's a scumbag move," but maybe they don't know the whole story. You know what I mean? So it's still a scumbag move, but it's not like he was doing it for scumbag reasons.
Have Loki in the flashback thing we see? Have Loki and Harudijan been born yet?
Yes.
So they're already.
Are you talking about the one that we see where Harold is destroying the castle?
Yeah, the last panel of this chapter.
Because that would have been, I think it's like 109 years ago, and I think the oldest one is Harujin, and he's like 70 or something.
Oh, okay, cool.
Did you want to speak on that, or?
So here's the thing. I think he's a total scumbag. Yeah. I don't think he's reformed at all. I think that he wants to be a celestial dragon and will be grimy to any means. And even if for some reason he gets cleared of this, I just want to stand on business and say this guy is still a scumbag. Because to me, sure, okay, maybe you wanted your people to be, you wanted to break the mold, right? So like you change Elbaf at its core, which has been violence and like warrior driven the whole time. You want to change them into scholars, right? That is a huge undertaking for a king to do in such a insanely like Viking like race, right?
Does that well?
But
sorry, go on.
But you don't change the very simple rule of I can take a wife outside of the Elbaf giants. I'm still a giant. It's just not the giant from Elbaf. And that is a crazy thing to do. Yeah. That is a scumbaggy move to me. Like you could have married Harujin's wife or Harujin's mom if you wanted to and made her queen of Elbaf. So you make the rules.
No, it doesn't actually work that way in monarchies. It's a lot that we had the same thing happen with King.
Yeah, isn't there like a council?
Yeah.
There's those rules.
Yeah, monarchies still have councils and stuff. Exactly that. You still can't break rules of that kingdom. If that kingdom's rules are those things.
Like ancient. Like rule,
But look, he completely changed the culture, broke so many rules. You saying that the council was down with completely revamping that?
Yes, because it's all
but
about
not
blood.
The one about the wife.
Yeah, seriously,
scumbag giants.
If honestly, say giants can be racist too.
But like you would think
racism isn't exclusive to humans.
Okay,
it's insane to me that you would break a gigantic tradition in which you are a violent ass race that literally goes around and just like, look, this guy literally kicked this dude's face into a whole kingdom and like broke it. and change those ways, but you don't change the very simplistic rule. Like, I understand that racism exists and whatever, but you think that they would be more like, hey, I don't want to not be a warrior. I don't want to not pillage. I actually quite like it, and I want my kids to take up the mantle too,
Yeah.
and everything else. Versus like, hey, like, it's kind of weird that you're, mating with a giant outside of the Elbaf.
If you ever want a really good read, go and do research on what the like A Song of Ice and Fire books were actually based on, because they were based on actually like proper stuff that happened within the United Kingdom and Europe. And it's all about that, about marriages that were annulled and things that even kings and queens couldn't overrule despite them being in charge and stuff like that. It's fascinating stuff. It really is.
Listen, I tell you what, if I'm King Harold, I'm an
Yeah.
ancient giant and nobody can step to me. I would say anybody who wants to stop me from getting rid of this rule, step up. I got hands for everybody.
That's a tyrant. That's a tyrant, not a king.
Look
So
at this guy. He's being a tyrant right now. We're like on panel.
That is true. That is true. There are receipts, but
he's being a thug, not a tyrant. A thug.
He's not breaking the allegations that he is a
yeah. I think he's
dirtbag.
a scum, but I think we'll see some stuff.
This is One Piece. That guy's fine. The guy that Harold kicked, he's fine. This is One Piece. People survive nukes.
Listen, that's
right,
fine. I don't care if everybody survived. I'm just saying this guy's a dirtbag. He's not beating the allegations to me. Even if he had some crazy reform, to me, I think he's trash. I think he puts on a nice front.
I will take that bet.
So sorry about my day. So when I was talking to you guys about the time moving forward, so do Elbaf giants live three squared as long as regular people and just 3 times longer than regular giants because of the time? Or do they just live 3 times as long as regular humans and regular giants just live, older than humans, but not, you know what I mean? Like, because of that time gap, wouldn't Elbaf giants live 3 squared as long as them? Because if they already live 3 times as long and the time's moving 3 times as fast, right?
I know
it's
you're
very
coming
possible.
from. So
and then wait. And then wouldn't that mean though that they were, when was the last, mural? There's got to be someone there, that knows
from that time.
Yeah. Yeah. So that could open up like a whole thing for me.
Yeah. That's kind of why I don't want it to happen, because it opens up too many huge things. Like, time dilation in fiction is really, really, really difficult to get right.
Listen, I also just want to point this out that there's a good possibility that in this flashback of King Harold, we get to see a very young Kureha. Because I was just in my mind, I was like 109. I'm like, she's like what, like 20 then? Or
Yeah.
like 130 or something. But on top of that, I agree. There's a possibility, but it's also like, okay, so if time moves slower there and they age 3 times as slow, is it possible that they're going based upon their Elbaf age instead of their actual age?
So like 100 would be 300.
Yes.
So again, for next time, how does time dilation work when it comes to Emu possessing someone? Because their real body is somewhere else. So how are they functioning on a different time span in Elbaf now that they are functioning in Elbaf sped up time? Because obviously, do you see what I mean? Like,
listen,
it reacts the same way. No, go ahead.
No, I hear that and I get it, and they were talking about it on the top on Monday, but like I think that I don't think that like if Emu's controlling you, I don't think like in that moment. Like the body's on, like Gunko's on Elbaf, and he's controlling someone that's there. So it's happening to the person that's there in that time. You know
So you don't. So you think when they're possessing Gunko, they are not aware of what's happening back where they are.
who
Like,
Gunko's not?
yeah, no. So Emu is possessing Gunko. Yeah. If
Yeah,
somebody tapped Emu in his normal body that is on Murray's right, if they tapped him on the shoulder, does he immediately feel it? Does he know he's being tapped on the shoulder, or does he have to wait for the time dilation to know it's like an hour later, then he feels the tap on the shoulder? Do you
but
see what I mean?
no, I think the time that's happening for Emu is Emu's time, and the time that's happening for Gunko is Gunko's time.
No, but then he wouldn't be able to talk through her. So
So listen,
again,
I
you're
think
like
it's
what,
possibly
11
like
hours?
subconsciously.
You're like 10 hours ahead of me, right? So if I was talking through you right now, it doesn't make it not
no,
7-11
but that's not
here.
time dilation. That's different. That's different time zones. So time dilation is in this set area, time happens faster or slower than it does for the rest. That's separate. That's not time zones.
No, I get it, but the point I'm trying to make is it's different. It's different times. Where the body is, it's going by that time.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean the perceptions of that body. Like as I said, if someone taps Emu on the shoulder, when is he feeling it? Is he feeling it when the time dilation would have him feel it, or is he feeling it immediately?
Immediately.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I feel like Emu
Immediately.
is just
And I
he's
think Emu
operating
knows
in
this.
two different areas. I think he's able to do, or she is able to do both. Like she probably is still just chilling in the garden, no problem, enjoying the whatever, maybe the sun or artificial sun or whatever. But like subconsciously, like it's like
Yeah.
it's like she just maybe has like part of her soul there, and that
that's
part
fine.
of her is just
Yeah,
controlling it.
that's fine. But it
But
has to be something like that, is what I'm saying.
it's basically every time I hop on video games, I lose track of time. It's whatever.
Yeah, I think the best way for them to do it is to leave it simple. But guys, in the comments, let us know how you feel about the time dilation, the chapter, and I don't know, maybe if the boys are down, we do a follow up later in the week, over the weekend or something. If not, we'll be on next Wednesday, and it is not going to be 110 on the heat index, so we
Jesus.
should be starting right away. Anything to say, Taku Broker?
No, all good.
No, just make sure that you like, subscribe, all the good stuff, and let us know your thoughts, and then join us next time and chat with us.
Yeah. All right, guys. Make sure to follow Nerd Taku on everything, NYC Anime Nerd, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
Jana.